Okay, this came in the mail for me and I just was a little bit excited today. That's not what this video is about. Hey guys, it's Dana, and in this video I wanted to talk about budget categories. So how much of your take-home pay, how much of your salary, what percentages do you put towards different categories in your household? All right, so let's get to it. All right, so I think this is a really great exercise to do just to see how everything breaks down. If you're doing a monthly budget, then you probably kind of have a good idea how much money goes towards different things, but maybe you haven't. Maybe you haven't looked at, categories, because when you take out your cash, say for your cash envelopes or for your clip system every week, you have a set amount of money that you take out, for food or whatever, but there's other things like utilities that you maybe just pay, you're not taking out cash. So you might not know what percentages that you have going towards each of these categories. So I thought this was a good exercise. I didn't even realize the percentages that we had going towards certain things. So it was very eye-opening for me to go through this exercise. If you look up Dave Ramsey's recommendations, like if you use the Every Dollar app, then in there it gives you, you have your categories, and I think that it gives you recommendations like percentage-wise as far as how much should be in each category. I don't actually use the Every Dollar app, I must confess. I did download it and I started to go through it once, like you have to go on the desktop to fill in everything to start out. And it's great. A lot of people love it, but I just love my spreadsheets. So we just stick with our spreadsheets and that works for us. I also don't like having to link up my accounts or whatever. Anyway, so I don't use it, but if you do, let me know, does it give you the percentages or not? I think it does. All right, so number one at the top of the list is your housing cost. Whether you're renting, whether you have a mortgage payment, how much of your take-home pay, the monthly take-home pay, should you have towards housing? And 25% is what you should be shooting for. 25% of your monthly take-home pay would be going towards housing. And for us, it's 23%. So I was pretty excited about that. 23% under the 25% mark. Next is food. How much are you spending towards food? I actually think a lot of people, they underestimate how much they're going to need for food. Jim and I, my husband and I, have had the worst fights about food. And it actually began as soon as we got married. We got married, then we moved into an apartment together, and I think that was one of the first big fights we had, was what we were buying, because I wanted more organic foods, and he was bringing in soda, and we had a huge fight about that, how I didn't want any soda in the house, no soda, and he was used to drinking Coke all the time, and then also how much money we were spending for groceries, and it continues to be a big issue, and not a big issue, but that's like the only thing. If I was to say we need marriage counseling, it would be over our food spending and also the items that we are purchasing at the grocery store. And I figured it out, and we are spending 22% on food, which I was like, that's kind of high. So we spend 22%, but 10% or 15% I think is a reasonable amount to budget for food, but we do more than that. But we also have a larger family, right? So you got to take that into consideration. We're a family of 6. That's what Jim always tells me. If you average it out per person, per day, it's actually, we really are not spending that much. So that makes sense, Jim. So 10% goes towards giving. If you are a tither, then that would be your 10% tithing to your church. For utilities, you want to budget about 10% into that, and I calculated it, and for us, we were under on that, which I was like, yes, under again, 7%. We do 7% towards utilities. For your car, it's about 10% for that category. For us, we only pay for gas for our cars, and so we do 3% for our transportation, which I thought was pretty good, 3%. Insurance, you want to budget 10 to 25% for insurance. This is if you have life insurance, your homeowner's insurance, renter's insurance, pet insurance, any kind of insurance that you have, then that would be lumped into this. And for us, we have life insurance policies, one for Jim, one for me, and then we have our car insurance. And what else do we have? Health insurance. Oh, health insurance is in there too. So when I calculated it all out, it was 14%, 14% for insurance, but 10 to 25% is what you want to allocate for insurance. Recreation would be 5 to 10%. We don't do recreation really. I guess I might consider like kids activities in here. I didn't really calculate that, but there's a couple of things we budget. We budget for horseback riding lessons for my daughter. And we also budget for, what else do we budget for? Soccer we do. We don't have a lot of activities. My goal is to have one activity for each kid. And we try to be really smart about it and make sure that it's, violin. We do violin. That's in our budget. That's pretty inexpensive. That's like a monthly payment that we make. All right, 10% for personal. I guess this would be what we call in our family mad money. So we have mad money set aside in case there's anything that comes up that month that we'd have to buy. Personal, like shampoos, extra, well, that kind of comes out of the food budget. But like if we needed to go pick up some clothes for the kids for some reason, sometimes at school, they have these things, there's a day where they have to wear a blue shirt or they have to wear an orange shirt or, and these things suddenly come up. They shouldn't be sudden, but it seems that way. I say to the kids, how long have you known about this? And they say, oh, sorry, and then like the night before I'm rushing out to Goodwill to try to find a, purple shirt. And then a health category for like co-pays if you have a deductible, and that's going to be anywhere from 10 to maybe even 20%, depending on if you have a high deductible plan or not. Then you might need to have a big category amount for that, setting money aside to pay for your copay and your deductible. Oh, and ours is 10%. And then if you're paying off debt, then that personal 10% would probably be 10% towards debt. Or you would adjust all of the categories to kind of lower some of them, trying to lower the utility, trying to lower the housing, trying to lower all those categories so that you can put as much percentage towards paying down debt as you can. It can't be a big enough percentage to go towards debt. But you want to make sure that you are allocating a realistic amount to each of the categories. And this is why I've said in a past video, sometimes it takes some time to, work with your budget, a couple months to sort of get a feel for what and make sure you write down everything, because you want to put money in the categories that's real for your family, like what you are really spending money on. If you put, in your budget, if you put 10% towards, one category, but you're really spending 20%, like food. Like you think, I'm just going to spend 10% on food, but you're spending 25% every month on food, then you need to be realistic in your budget and really put that in there, because otherwise it's going to mess everything else up. So that's so important that you're realistic in what you're putting in your budget in each category, what's really going down in your household. And sometimes that's hard to admit or to face, or you have, wishful thinking about what you think it should be, but it's just not that way. That's not what's happening. Your partner, is doing something else than what you're doing, and then that's a whole separate issue. But you want to make sure that what you're putting down in your budget for these categories is real. Okay? Enough on that. Okay, so all those categories should be 100%, not more than 100%. So you want to split it up. And like I said, I think this is a really good exercise to do. Even if you've been budgeting for years and years and years, maybe you just haven't done it in a while, you might want to go through and just sort of put down what you actually are spending, what percentages in each category. Something I left out was saving. That's another category. It's like 10% usually that you'd be putting into your savings. But that's also something that can fluctuate depending on where you're at in your journey. If you're saving for something specific, specific. If you have, a new car, new house, or, some kind of home improvement project you're saving for, you might want to increase that percentage. Or if you're trying to build your emergency fund. So, all the categories, kind of need to be looked at, played around with, and then realistically examined for your past, your history of what you've been doing, how you've been spending your money. So take all those things into account, and it's a really good exercise to do. Okay? All right, you guys. So that is it for today. I am here every single Tuesday. If it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.